This video is in honor of the April group class that I just finished working with. It was such an honor, and so you know who you are. This is our practice from one of our last days together. We're going to begin lying down on your back, knees bent, feet on the floor, arms out by your side. And feel free to support yourself with any sort of props, blankets, bolsters, anything like that that you would like to feel even a little more comfortable. And settle into your space, maybe allowing your eyes to close to really focus inward. And just start with a few breaths to center yourself and bring yourself into this space. In your nose. Gentle, open mouth exhale. Feel your body sinking down. And do that a few times until you can start to give permission for some of the layers of your mind and your body to start to melt and release. And just let your breath come to a natural rhythm as we begin to explore and really tune into all of the sensory cues around us. Just noticing what you hear, inviting it in, and letting it move on. Notice your taste in your mouth, the position of your tongue, the base, your jaw. And then orient your awareness to feeling whatever is supporting you underneath, if it's the floor, a couch, your bed. Just really feel those places of contact that let you know that you are supported. Notice the bottoms of your feet. The back of your hips. Along your spine and your shoulder blades. Feel the contact of your arms, and the back of your head. And just note, all of this is just sensation. This expression of the body, connection of mind and body, letting you know where you are in this moment in time and space. And just orient to that there is no threat in this moment. We are okay. Lying here on the floor, supported. And take a few breaths to start to let your exhale become longer and softer and smoother. Breathing in and out through your nose, if you're able. Just start to feel the softness on your inhale, inviting the breath to move down and expand in all directions. Set the pace for your exhale, nice and slow, and then allow your inhale to mirror that, coming in softly and smoothly. And with the exhale, you're just giving more permission for every part of your body to sink deeper. Maybe releasing another subtle layer of tension in your jaw, the base of your tongue, your shoulders. And when you inhale this softness, feel this expansion, not only through your belly, but also out to the sides of your rib cage and even into the low back. feeling the low back expand to meet the floor below. A nice, slow, even exhale out your nose. And so you'll just continue this rhythmic pattern of breath, just like a wave rolling in and then slowly rolling out. Let your breath be the guiding throughout the movement. And so the first movement we'll start with is this very small movement of pelvic tilting. I like to start on that exhale just to feel the rounding of your low back as you feel the tailbone just gently tucking under, shortening the distance from pubic bone to sternum. And then on the inhale, slow softening back to center. And then the exhale, feel that rounding, the pelvis is tilting here. Frontal hip bones are rotating up closer towards your head. And then as you inhale, just a slow release of the contraction. Maybe coming back to center, maybe starting to swing, so you're moving into an anterior tilt, where now the frontal hip bones are starting to rotate down towards your knees. You'll feel some space and arch in your low back. Exhale nice and slow, beginning to draw frontal hip bones so they're facing upward and then rotating back towards your shoulders, lower back, gently rounding. Inhaling back to center. Feel free to stop at any time and just let all of the muscles release to reset. Less is more here. You're using that ability to create ease and smoothness and softness to really connect what's happening in your body with this safety of your mind. Maybe the movement is getting a little bit bigger, but see if you can still keep tension low, especially with gripping in your legs. Your hamstrings love to get involved here. Same thing with your neck. See if you can let all of that just release as this movement is smooth and simple through the center. Let's just do one more here. And then letting your arms come to the side, fanning your fingers, and just see if you can use your breath to find stillness. And on your exhale, sink a little bit deeper into the floor. And just noticing sensations that might be there. Some might be more intense. Some might be pleasant. See if you can avoid the judgment and just be with whatever is. Watching it, curious about it. Now we'll migrate our feet out to the very edge of your mat. Knees are still bent, feet are down on the floor. And for windshield wipers, we're going to start the movement small once again, where the inhale will allow for your knees to be up at center. And as you exhale, start to track both knees over to the right. You only go partway down. Before you take that next inhale, you'll feel the left hip rotate to make contact again with the ground. Knees will come up on the inhale, and the exhale, both knees will start to shift and slide over to the left. Inhale, rotate the right hip down to the mat. Knees will come back up to center. Exhale, back over to the right. Maybe you're going a little bit further now based on whatever your capacity and your window of tolerance is here. So we're challenging, and maybe we're feeling some change in sensation, and also honoring so we do not overwhelm. We're finding the zone that really gets us into that sweet spot. Inhaling back up. Try to create a little bit more ease with the movement. Exhale, Shifting the knees the other way. And just notice, where can you release a little more tension? Maybe it's in your jaw. Maybe your shoulders are trying to do some work here. Just let them go. And you're really using some of these cues of safety, the soft breath, the slow breath. Keeping that tension as low as you possibly can, even when there might be an intense sensation that comes up. See if your thoughts can remain open and neutral, just curious to whatever movement, part of the movement you're in. Also feel free to hold and breathe on one side or another. Feel the rib cage expand with your inhale, softening, slow exhale. Allow yourself to balance out the sides, noticing, being with whatever shifts and changes are there. If the sensation is starting to increase in intensity, or your tension is staying high, or the breath is hard to regulate, just back off and allow yourself to just slow it down, take a break, visualize the movements. All of that can have a profound impact on the nervous system. Coming back to center after you balance yourself out, just to allow maybe even the knees to draw in towards each other, and feel the whole back body releasing. Nothing you need to try to do, just let the breath do it. Maybe even sigh to feel succumbing to gravity. And then allow for your knees to come back up to center. Your feet are still down on the floor. And just take a few breaths here to find your rhythm once again. Notice some of those places that might be doing a lot of work and holding, and see if you can just breathe into them. Now we'll move into a version of bridge pose. And so we're gonna do this bridge pose nice and small. So arms down by your side, feet still on the floor, knees bent. Another modification here is to place a block in between your knees, or in a ball and a block in between your heels. And just have gentle pressure in. And if you don't have those, that's totally fine. You can just feel that you're aligning your hips, your knees, and your ankles. And so the first movement is going to be just to feel this stability through the pelvis and through the spine. Find a softness and an engagement. And you'll just feel a slight rolling of the low back, a rounding. Feel the glutes engage here, maybe even just 50%. And then as you inhale, we're just lifting a couple of inches, lifting your hips a couple inches off of the mat. And then as you exhale, maybe even rolling down, you can see if that creates more space for you, or just allowing the hips and the spine to drop back down as a unit. You use your own discernment for where you're creating more ease and safety in your body. And so we find that length through the low back, a slight rounding, engagement of the glutes, not a tension or gripping, but just this nice, maybe 50% engagement. And then as you inhale, feel the glutes helping to lift your hips a couple inches off of the floor. Exhale nice and slow to release your hips back down. Completely relax for a breath. Let all of the muscles go there so that you can notice what's working and what's not. If you feel a lot of energy and tension in the hamstrings, see if you can focus more on the glutes. Same with your low back. So we feel this lengthening through the back, engagement of the glutes. Inhale, lift the hips. Maybe you can go a little higher here if there's still ease. And then as you exhale, nice and slow, releasing everything down. Let go of that engagement, take a breath. So you can continue in that manner. Another addition that you can bring on for some length is lengthening through the spine, engaging glutes. Inhale, reaching the arms up as well, towards the ceiling and up overhead, finding lots of length and space, reaching the fingertips long. And then as you exhale, tracking the arms back up towards the ceiling and down by your side as the hips lower. Nice and smooth, coordinating it all. Give yourself some grace if it feels like it's a little jagged. That's okay, find your breath. Rest, lengthen, engage. Inhale, lift hips, arms reach up and long overhead. Exhale, returning them back down by your side as you find the hips back onto your mat. So if you continue in this manner, another option that you can come into is as you're keeping your arms down by your side, so you can also lift up through the hips. Find that maybe 2 inches or so off the ground, and almost as if your frontal hip bones are kind of like airplane wings. You're just going to allow the right frontal hip bone to dip down just a little bit as though you're banking to the right. And you'll feel this as a release, a little bit of a release through your right glute. Then you'll inhale, coming back up to the center position. Exhale, dipping the left frontal hip bone down. Inhale, lifting back up to center. You're just going to drop side to side like you're taking your airplane and just tilting it. You can lower down even a little bit more if it feels like it's a little bit too high, but feel the engagement of the opposite glute. That's allowing the frontal hip bone to stay elevated, and then that releasing more so of the one that drops back down. See if you can keep your low back long, and then exhale to come all the way down, and release with your breath. Everything softening, knees might even drop in towards each other. And just watch and observe the sensations that might be there. Blood flow, tingling, vibration, temperature. You might feel a tightness, a release or a loosening. Just be with whatever's there. Watch it with curiosity. Not good, not bad. And then allow for drawing in either one or both thighs into your chest. You can bring your hands behind your thighs to encourage that drawing in. And as you pull the thighs in, see if you can feel this length through your tailbone, almost like your tailbone is trying to release out long onto the floor. While you're drawing the knees in, and maybe you even shift a little side to side. Just feel the sensation of that pressure contact with the low back. Just being with it. Always giving yourself that permission if the sensation is starting to feel like you're not able to influence it with your cues of safety. That the intensity just keeps going up. Always give yourself permission to find deeper breath. Give yourself a break. Alter your position. Use your discernment to find what's true for you. Releasing your feet back down. And now we're going to transition onto all fours. And to do this, see if you can resist the urge to rush right through it. Take your time, and also notice if there's any guarding or there's any bracing or anticipation of a change in sensation, and if so, see if you can soften. If you can breathe a little bit deeper. And so just take your time rolling onto your side. Breath flowing. Maybe pushing yourself up with your hands. Taking a pause, just reorienting to a new position. And then we'll come into all fours. Give yourself support underneath your knees if you need blankets or even any sort of pillow from your home. Same thing with your arms and your wrists. You might want to try this in a way that that you haven't before, especially if it seems like immediately you feel sensation and the urge is to do something different. So you can just stay with it for a breath or two at least, just to challenge the nervous system, provide cues of safety. And then if you need to use something, give yourself permission. Another great support for the forearms and the wrists can be to have a pillow or a bolster or prop underneath your forearms so that you're kind of propped up still at the same level. So find shoulders roughly over wrists and hips roughly over knees and shift around so that it's most comfortable for your body. And our movement here is going to be to come into a cat-cow, but we're going to really focus on the pelvis. And so first we're going to take an exhale, just like we did with the pelvic tilts. And with that exhale, you're going to start feeling the sacrum, that it's starting to lengthen and flatten out a little bit through the low back, tailbone's tucking. And then as you inhale, you're releasing back up to center. So just start there with that movement, nice and slow and subtle. Exhale, feeling the rounding of the low back, this posterior tilt of the pelvis. And then inhaling softly back to center. Breath coming down into the belly here. Exhale the rounding. And now maybe it starts to ripple up through the spine, coming up into the shoulder blades, but then release from the pelvis again. So then that inhale will release the pelvis first, finding that arch through the low back and then up to the shoulder blades. Exhale, pelvis rotates under, ripple all the way up. Maybe you tuck your chin. Inhale, release the pelvis, arching low back, shoulder blades release down, maybe even gazing up. So it's almost like this ripple that just comes from the pelvis. And you're creating a rhythm with it. And then it can almost start to become like this undulation a little bit, where you're feeling the ripple effect. Almost like a ribbon, it releases from the pelvis, ripples all the way up to the crown of the head. And just find your rhythm of breath. And then we can start to kind of find stillness out of that, but shift your weight back. So hips are starting to work towards the heels, and then we're inhaling and you're reaching your hips to the right, circling them forward. Exhale at the top, hips reach to the left, reaching back towards the heels. Inhale up the right side. So we're just doing these hip circles with our sacrum. And you can modify that as well. And you might even want to do a little bit of a side to side undulation where that's that ribbon-like movement, rippling all the way up. Otherwise, just keep working with the circles here. And you might even come inhale up the front, exhale back down, making almost like a U shape. So you can see kind of how your body, where you can find the spaces of ease with this movement, find a flow, keep those cues of safety, soften through the jaw, release any gripping of your feet, and just find a flow of breath. And maybe your breath is going a little bit faster. See if you can just slow it down. If your tendency is to overdo, see what happens if you back off. If the tendency is to avoid movement, see if you can use your breath to go a little bit further. So we're just finding those challenging points. Coming back to center and just allowing your hips to just sway side to side, right to left. And then come back to this all fours position and really find length all the way at the crown of your head. The tendency can be for our head to hang down here, but see if you can align your spine as well as your head so that it almost looks as though you are standing up. So really draw the chin in, reach the crown of the head forward, and find length all the way out the tailbone. And just take a couple breaths into the lower rib cage. And then we'll move into a puppy dog position. So you're going to keep your hips over your knees, but just start to walk your hands out and your forehead comes down towards the mat. So it's as if your upper body is in a down dog position and you're finding length, reaching through your fingertips, and you're just finding your breath here. Feel the front part of your rib cage drawing in just a little bit so you can reach your tailbone up higher and breathe into the lower rib cage. Another great modification is to put a bolster or a pillow right underneath your belly and almost come around that, and you can place your head facing either direction as you support into the bolster. So let's just find a few breaths here of release. Soften on the inhale. Release, another layer on the exhale. And then slowly starting to come up from your puppy dog position. You can always find your knees a little bit wider here and starting to shift your hips back towards your heels into a child's pose. And just take this nice and slow so you can get that feedback from your knees. And so maybe your hips are still elevated just a little bit. Same thing here, we just reach the arms out in front, forehead down. But just notice how this might feel a little bit different, especially as the hips sit back into the heels. And now really feel your breath coming into the belly. And as though the belly is reaching for the ground as you soften on the inhale. And you can feel this in the back too. The low back, that breath coming in and just expanding. We'll slowly shift forward from this position. We're going to move into a standing position now. So once again, during transitions, just allow your breath, attention to be low. And if you notice that your thoughts are anticipating or have a memory of an intense sensation or a movement that brings that on, see if you can just find neutral. If you can anchor into your breath, keep everything soft. You can use a chair or some sort of a support to help yourself up. And we're going to come into mountain pose. And so for your mountain pose, just find your feet in a position that you can feel stable. And so this might be a little bit wider than hip width distance. Maybe your toes are pointed out a little bit more. I want you to feel a position that can give you some ease and strength and stability. And then once you get there, let's find some softness as well. So find the ball mounts in the heel, that nice tripod in the bottom of your foot. And then just allow for the ankles to support the knees. The knees are gonna soften just a little bit so they're not completely locked out. Let your knees support your hips. Feel the tailbone dropping down like an anchor. Let your hips support your rib cage. So as though that's just finding length on top of the hips. And then your shoulders. Find this nice big smile through your collarbones as your shoulders are supported by your rib cage. So you have this width to you, taking up space, arms by your side. And then feel the crown of the head reaching and lengthening up. So you're taking up space. And you want to feel solid here and stable. And notice if there's places where you can feel some tension, some gripping, especially the toes can be really common. Just give them permission to take a break. And then find your breath here. Really feel the breath moving down into this lower rib cage area. As though the chest is relatively still, the collarbones are still, and you're breathing in. You can feel this expansion out to the sides and to the back. So that's softness. And then a nice slow exhale. And so we're going to find just a nice kind of slow shifting side to side here where you can really tune into the sensations of that transfer of weight. And you feel softness with your knees as you go side to side. And your arms just hang. And then we're going to start to just do a rotation with our shoulders here. And the arms are hanging like noodles, so gravity is just allowing them to rotate. They're following the path of your shoulders. And then the movement's going to start to get a little bigger as we allow maybe the feet to go a little bit wider too, and we're shifting our weight side to side. And then you can even start to just gently roll up off of the big toe on the opposite side that you're turning. So you have this rotation. You're just letting the hands gently drop where they will. We're having this rotation up off of one toe, side to side. You almost have a little bit of a bounce here. And kind of feel this bounce in the middle, the knees soften, jaws released. And the movement can be much smaller than this. Maybe you're just transferring your weight side to side, but feel a little bit of lightness with it, especially with the arms. You really don't have to do much here. And then start to let the movement slow down. The breath is still flowing. Maybe you just allow the fingers to shake out a little bit here in the legs. And then realign yourself in that pose of stability, strength, and just close your eyes here, breathing, and notice where you feel strong, solid. Notice if you can find some places within you that do have this sense of non-threat or even safety. Maybe there's a little bit more space there. Maybe it's just neutral. And see if you can really bring your attention there. Feeling the breath continue to expand through the lower rib cage. Collarbones are staying still, neck is soft, jaw released. And so now we're going to move into a modification and a version of the puppy dog, but we're going to be doing it with a wall or some sort of even if you have a low table, you could also do that there. And so the movement here is going to be where you're bringing your hands up against the wall about shoulder height. And what you're going to start to do is walk your feet back so your hips are still over your heels, but your hands are going to start to drop down. And you can do this as much as, once again, find that challenging point. You want to feel stable through the neck, the shoulders, that softness. And we're just going to start to allow the hands to migrate down as we fold at the hips. So we're hinging at the hips are over the ankles, And we're finding this length. So maybe eventually we are coming to a place where our spine is about parallel to the floor. And so playing around with this, the other option too is you could, like I said, you could have something that's a little bit lower and your hands could be there, and you could be just folding forward at your hips but keeping your hands connected so that you can feel this length through your spine. And so we're essentially kind of doing this forward, this folding, hinging at the hips. And so what you want to really feel here, you can bend the knees as much as you need to, but once again, you want to try to find this length through the spine that you can find some ease. And maybe you're even only one arm is up if that's where you're at for a challenge without overwhelm. And you're breathing here, so you can find the breath into the side body and see if you can create a little bit more length from the crown of your head all the way out through your tailbone. And then find your breath. Bending the knees to slowly start to walk your hands up the wall, your feet walking forward. Once again, coming into a mountain pose to realign and allow all of the joints to support each other. Finding length. And then just feel this gentle lifting through the very center of the chest. Shoulders are going to drop away from the ears as you lift through the chest. Keep your chin drawing inward. And you're just gazing up, finding length all the way up through the front body. And then just coming back to the center position. We'll move into a warrior pose. And so for this, we're going to start with both feet at the top of your mat. And we'll just come into a subtle bend of the knees. And feel the stability and the strength through your right front leg. Find that tripod with the ball mounts in the heel. Once you can feel that stability, we're just gonna step the left foot back and start with a short stance. You're just gonna rotate so that your toes are starting to face kind of in a similar direction. And they're just gonna rotate slightly, maybe about even 30 degrees, so that your hips can still have this freedom of movement and find some space. And so you'll find whatever, if you wanna lengthen out your stance or have it be shorter, somewhere where you can feel balanced and centered, and you can also feel that there's equal distribution. Then we'll bend the front knee, and the knee it'll still go out over the feet in the direction of the feet here. But you can move and shift this position. So if you need to point your toes forward more, rotate them in. I still want you to feel this freedom of movement through the pelvis here. And then also that the pelvis is able to kind of drop down, even as you bend your front knee. You can have it the back knee straight or bent, depending on how your body is receiving the position. But you'll feel the pelvis dropping down here. And so our movement is, we'll bring the right arm forward and the left arm back. And sinking in here with your breath. As we inhale, you're going to lift the arms up overhead. And exhale, bring them right down to heart center. Good, release the arms back out, inhale. Exhale, breathe. Inhale, lift. Exhale, heart center. Inhale, reach the arms long. Exhale, settle in. Last time, we'll inhale, lift the arms up. Exhale, down. Straightening your front knee. And then here you can have this rotation if you'd like to, kind of turning forward, stepping back into the top of your mat, finding your mountain pose for a few breaths. And then onto the other side, bending the knees, feeling the stability of your left with the ball mounts in the heel. And in this transition, using that softness of the jaw, the toes, giving the cue of safety as you mindfully step the right foot back, find some ease. And then maybe rotating the toes so that they're both pointing in a similar direction, bending the front knee. And you can modify and change it and adjust it so that you feel space through the pelvis, through the low back, but you also feel this support from both legs. So we don't want the weight all the way forward, we don't want it all the way back, and the tailbone is just kind of dropping in between. And feel the length lifting all the way up out of your spine. So you make the modifications so that you can feel that you are creating more ease. So here I can feel that my pelvis is free to move, and then my frontal hip bones find that center. And so that discernment of how much is a challenge without overwhelming the system. Find softness in the face. We'll bring the arms up to reach, left arm forward, right arm back. See if you can find some space here. Bring a cue of safety, permission to melt all the way down through your back. And then this movement here, we'll take that inhale. Let's lift the arms up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, reach. Exhale, settle. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, reach long. Exhale, settle. Find a little bit more ease with the movement. If there's sensation there, seeing if you can turn towards it and just influence it by staying soft, staying neutral, or just moving the body and breathing. There's no threat here. Where can you soften a little bit more? This last one. Allowing the arms to come down, turning, stepping back into your mountain pose. And then finding stability, finding the breath. And just noticing if there's any other movement you may want to do while we are in standing, just shaking that out, rolling the shoulders. And then let's just find this nice wide-legged stance here. And if you have a block or you have something that you can put down in front of you, you could grab that now. I have a candle, that works. And I'm gonna place it right down in front of me here. So I have this wide-legged stance and I can feel my inner feet drawing towards each other so that I have support all the way up through my pelvic floor. And so our movement here is coming into a forward fold. And we're finding that length, exhaling, moving with ease, softness, coming down, bringing the hands onto your block or your candle or books or whatever you have. And then finding this length all the way up the crown of the head. Just keep the left hand right at center. And we're gonna inhale and we're gonna reach the right arm up. And you can feel that left knee bend to kind of give you a little bit of support here too, so you can rotate a little bit more. So feel the space between the fingertips reaching and then your left hand grounding. So take a breath in, exhale, right hand comes back down. Inhale, bending through the right knee, reaching with that left arm. Find the space, find the length. Exhale, release the left arm down, back to center. Inhale, reach through the right, bend the left knee. Exhale, return back down. Inhale, left arm reaches, right knee bends just a little bit. So find, same thing, find the ease, soften. See if you can release through this trapezius. A lot of times it loves to do that work for us. And so maybe the movement for you is even just swinging the arm out more to here. Try to find the proper engagement that creates more space for you. And if you feel a compensation, back off just a little bit so you can teach the body this fluid movement. Let's just do one more to even it out. On each side, finding that fold. And then that discernment process of coming back up, feeling length, hands to hips. You can bend the knees. Crown of the head reaches forward and all the way back up to stand. Returning to mountain pose. Just take a few final breaths here, re-anchoring into your feet. Being with the sensation, noticing the places of neutral, of strength, of space. And then being with those sensations where maybe there is still some tightening and tension, restriction, intensity, pain. Deepen the breath. And as we transition back to lying down, just keep the breath flowing, the tension low, and once again, that anticipation. See if you can keep your face completely soft. So there's no additional guarding, it's just engagement. And so coming down to lie down on your back. And once you get there, you'll know what to do in terms of shifting, maybe even having a full body stretch, finding length. Maybe it feels that nourishment to draw your thighs in towards your chest and rock side to side. And once you're settled in, just allow for your knees to bend and your feet to come back onto the floor, arms by your side. And you'll just draw your right thigh in. Bring your hands to clasp behind the thigh. We'll move with our breath here, just allowing for your arms to straighten as they hold onto the thighs, so your elbows will extend as you push your thigh away. Take a breath in, and then as you exhale, bend your elbows, draw your thigh back in. So you can be doing one leg at a time, or you can also draw both of them in. So discern for you what works the best. Inhaling, that's when you straighten out through the elbows. Exhale, slowly drawing the thighs back in. Finding a softness on the inhale. Where can you release tension even a little bit more? Maybe it's the gripping of your hands. Maybe it's your cheeks or your forehead. See if you can find that softness. If you're doing one leg, go ahead and switch to the left. Just allowing for the right foot to come back down. Taking that inhale as the arms straighten. Thigh moves away, exhale, bend the elbow, draw the thigh back in. You can feel a little bit of a lift through the pelvic floor, through your core. See if you can make the breath a little smoother. The movement a little smoother. And this last one, just allowing for one or both feet to come back down onto the floor. Arms by your side. You can release your knees in so that they fall against each other. And just return to the wave of your breath. Chest relatively still. Softness through the low back, the belly, the side bodies, just breath expanding. toes soften. If there's any other movement that your body feels called to do, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, we'll just stay here. You can shift your position if you want to be even a little bit more comfortable. You can use the bolsters, the blankets. And just being here for a few more breaths. Seeing if on the exhale you can just let the mind settle. Any fear, anticipation, judgment, anything that you notice, just seeing if that can come in, and on your exhale, everything just settling down like leaves falling from a tree. Slow and soft and settling. Feel the back body supported, connected to the floor, to earth. So you have this anchor below, and then this settling that just comes, and everything softens down, 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 releasing. And just take a few more breaths. Feeling the anchor of your feet and your legs against the floor. Being aware of all those places of contact with your back body, the support of your head. And then once again, starting to transition and starting to move nice and slow, maybe bringing a little bit of movement into your fingers and your toes. And as the breath fills you back up, maybe drawing your thighs back into your chest, maybe reaching your arms up overhead. You get to determine how to honor your body, your mind in this moment. And then we'll slowly transition with the breath, soft, with your thoughts, aligning with neutral. And slowly pull your way back up to seated. And we'll end here just with this final gesture of reverence, coming into Padma Mudra, a lotus mudra where the hands and the palms come together, just allowing for the pinky finger and the thumb to remain connected while the remainder of the fingers open up into what looks like a lotus flower. And so the palm, the base of your palm is still connected, as well as the tip of your thumb and pinky fingers. And just holding that posture and that position right in the center of your chest. And taking a few breaths here as though you are breathing into this flower. The lotus flower that comes from the mud at the base of the lake, finding its way to the light. And just acknowledging that our path can be much like that a lot of the time. And so breathing into that, turning towards it, moving with the light. And offering that reverence and gratitude to yourself for showing up to do the things that are uplifting, and then honor your nervous system. Honor your mind, your body, and your spirit. Just allowing the fingers to close, the palms to reconnect. And Anjali Mudra, thumbs gently pushing into the very center of the chest, the heart center. A final breath, setting an intention to find the safety within. Orient to your breath, letting go of the tension, and finding that neutrality. Om Shanti, Om Peace. Namaste. Thank you so much.